How's it going, everyone? Kapinarmic here. SpongeBob SquarePants, a name known about as much as Mickey Mouse these days. On the air since 1999, SpongeBob shows no real signs of ending soon. Whether that's good or bad, that's up for debate. Now, with a show this popular, it's understandable that it got a theatrical movie in 2004. Now, here we are 11 years later, well, 10 years 4 months, and the Yellow Sponge's inevitable second movie has finally arrived. But with SpongeBob's noticeable decline in quality not too long after the first movie, a lot of you are wondering, is this movie any good? Well, hold on to your pants, because I'm about to tell you whether this movie is hip or square.
Control program confirmed.
In a recent sonar scan of the ocean floor, scientists recorded a sound never before heard by human ears.
Make it stop, Gramps! Make it stop!
Sponge Out of Water released February 6, 2015 in North America and was produced by Paramount Animation, Nickelodeon Movies, and United Plankton Pictures. In this movie, the Krabby Patty formula has disappeared without a trace, which leads the city of Bikini Bottom into a state of apocalyptic madness. As a result, we get the unusual team-up of SpongeBob and Plankton to get to the bottom of this mystery. And speaking of mysteries, riddle me this. How does a TV series that has slowly decayed in quality over the past decade turn around and make a movie like this? Guys, I'm not going to keep it a mystery until the end of the review. This movie is good. Does it have flaws? Yes, of course, I'll get to those later, but seriously, this movie is really good. Of course, this wouldn't be a proper review unless I explained why, so let's get on that. First, let's start off with the plot. When you have a cartoon that's popular enough to get a theatrical release, you want to make sure you do something with the plot that you wouldn't normally do in the TV show. That just makes the movie all the more special. Now, the SpongeBob TV series has touched a little bit on the whole no more Krabby Patties and the enemy and good guy team-up topics before, but I don't think they've ever done it quite like this. The way the factors have been used for this plot, they feel like their potential is used better in this movie than the few moments in the series. I feel like there's a lot more at stake and there's a lot more on the line. Even though it's kind of already been done in the series, the movie still manages to make it seem fresh. And while we're on the topic of freshness, do you know how refreshing it is to see a 2D animated movie in theaters again? It feels really good. The cinematic quality of the animation really shines here, not just because the characters have shadows, but there are also particle effects in the water. The animation overall is a lot more polished and smooth, and there are loads, and I mean loads, of creative facial expressions. The 3D animation looks really nice too, though personally I like the 2D animation more, but the CG's still good. It has a nice sense of polish, but doesn't forget to give the characters that good cartoony feel. And as an animation major, there's still quite a bit of stuff that I noticed about the animation that brought an even bigger smile to my face, but I won't bore you with the massive list I have here. Though I will say this, all the movie commercials and trailers really hyped up the whole CGI in the real world thing, but there are like 3 or 4 animation styles that pop up in this movie and they all look fantastic. They really caught me by surprise, but believe me, it's a good surprise. Now here's the part of the review that may stir up a little controversy and leave more dislikes in the rating bar. The movie's plot, it kinda goes all over the place, and I don't mean there are plot holes or anything like that. I mean some really weird events occur in this movie that at a glance feel like they don't contribute to the plot that much, but in reality they do, whether it be clear a few seconds or a few minutes down the line. But even the scenes that do just feel like filler, I honestly don't mind them because they're funny, and that's the movie's main strength. It's funny. While the first movie focused a lot on the journey and adventure aspect, this movie seems to focus a lot more on the comedy, and for the most part, I think they nailed it. Obviously, you're not gonna laugh at every single joke in the book, but it's like if you have $1 million and you have to pay $100,000 of it in credit card debt, you still have $900,000. A lot of jokes in the movie are jokes I wouldn't really expect to see in the SpongeBob TV series, and I mean that in a good way. Some of the jokes don't feel like SpongeBob jokes, but they honestly benefit the movie all the more, and I think one of the many reasons for that is SpongeBob's character in the movie. Anyone who isn't a fan of SpongeBob's idiotic, sadistic character in the later seasons will love SpongeBob here. He feels like his original season 1 through 3 self, ignorant but not idiotic. And unlike the original 3 seasons, SpongeBob has a tiny pinch of sass. A tiny bit. And that tiny bit makes me like him as a character all the more. And while we're talking about seasons 1 through 3, this movie has quite a bit of callbacks to earlier SpongeBob episodes. It's almost like a love letter to fans of the pre-movie era. I'll give you an example that doesn't spoil anything. It happens during the credits, and the characters are walking across the bottom of the screen, while the names of the really important people go on and off the screen while the credits music plays. And when Squidward shows up on the screen, he's all like, "This song could use some interpretive dance," and he starts doing the dance from Culture Shock, from all the way back in season 1, and you're just like, whoa! I know where that's from! And it's stuff like that that makes me see the personal interest of the crew. I can tell the crew of the show really upped their game when it came to this movie. I can see the care and I can see the effort. But, understandably, everything has flaws of some kind, so let's start off with a subject everyone might be curious about, the whole superhero thing. I honestly don't mind the fact that they do become superheroes. It leads to some pretty good action and humorous scenes. However, I more so question, why superheroes? I mean, I know why, it's to stop the bad guy. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything about the gang situation at the time, but when they do become superheroes, it feels kind of like it comes out of left field. It's not foreshadowed or anything, the movie's just kind of like, hey, superhero time! And again, I don't have any problem with them being superheroes, I just wish I got a more concrete reason as to why it had to be superheroes. And there's also this part near the end with Plankton that just kind of made me go, that's kind of stupid. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it kind of felt like a way to get the movie to end quicker. It felt kind of like a cop-out. Also, due to the structure of the plot, the beginning of the second act feels a bit wonky. I won't go into detail because that would imply spoilers, but at the beginning of the second act, it feels more like the movie's still in the first act, and you realize a bit later down the line, like, oh, we're in the second act? Okay. Now, this last point I'm going to share isn't a negative for me, in fact, it's a big positive, but it might turn some people off. This movie is really silly. It takes pride in its silliness, and I honestly think that serves to the movie's advantage. Don't go into this expecting a great epic tale like the first one, you're not gonna get that. In fact, I know why they didn't call this the SpongeBob movie too, because it's treated like the first movie never happened. Like I said before, the first movie focused a lot more on adventure, and this one more so on trying to make you laugh, even at the sake of it being silly. It's fun though. It's silly, but fun. And I'm gonna answer this question now because I know some people are wondering it. Which movie is better? I might make people mad with this. Heck, I'll make people mad no matter what I say. But comedy-wise, I think this movie is better. Comedy-wise. And I'm sorry if you're super sentimental about SpongeBob 2004 and prior, but honestly, give this movie a chance, it's good. Despite my few complaints, it's a really good movie, and I had a really fun time watching it. And if you think Sponge Out of Water is just as bad as the Yellow Cube's 6th season on TV, that's okay. After all, I'm just one opinion on the internet.